Have you ever wanted someone so deeply that even time seemed to ache for their presence? What if I told you they're already yours? And in just 5 minutes they could feel it too. This is not fiction. This is a law more ancient than the stars. If you understand what I'm about to share, the person you like will come to you, not by coincidence, but by your command. Let's begin. There was a time many years ago when I found myself enraptured by someone who seemed in the outer world, distant and unaware of my presence. But I knew better. I had discovered that manifestation was not an effort of the hands, but of the mind, of the assumption. One evening, as I sat quietly in my apartment, I said to myself, "He is mine. He desires me as deeply as I desire him." I didn't plead. I didn't hope. I assumed. I imagined him walking toward me with that smile I adored, calling my name, his energy drawn into mine as if we were two notes of the same song. And I felt it. I felt it real. The air changed, my breath softened. I fell asleep with the warm sense of certainty, as though we had just finished a long conversation together. And before the evening even turned to night, I received a call. It was him. No planning, no strategy, just the powerful rhythm of my own consciousness, harmonized with the law. You see, when you understand the law of assumption, you no longer hope for love, you become it. You no longer wait, you claim. You don't manifest the person, you manifest the relationship. All things exist. That version of you already loved, already chosen, already held, it exists now. But it is not until you assume it to be true, not tomorrow, not in 30 days, but now, that the world will conform to that image. So when I say the person you like will come to you in 5 minutes, I do not mean 300 seconds on a clock. I mean, can you surrender to love right now without fear? Can you drop the story of waiting and walk in the energy of already having? You must feel as though your wish is already fulfilled. Do not ask, where is he? Do not look at the empty space beside you. Fill it. Fill it with imagination. Fill it with his scent, his laughter, his warmth. And do not come out of that state, not for doubt, not for delay. In my experience, the moment you live in the end, the universe must obey. Even your breath becomes a bridge between what was imagined and what will walk through your door. There is a principle far more immediate than action, and far more powerful than time. It is the knowing that the world outside responds not to your effort, but to your inner conviction. What you assume to be true of yourself and your relationships is what you inevitably express and attract. The law does not require long hours of repetition. It does not need 10,000 affirmations shouted at the sky. It needs only a moment, one moment, of total undivided belief. That moment, uncorrupted by doubt or hesitation, is the very doorway through which manifestation arrives. Many wait for signs. They seek symbols and synchronicities to reassure them that something is working. But the truth is, there is no need to wait. Waiting is resistance wearing a mask. When you declare something as yours and still look around for proof, what you're saying is, I don't yet believe it. That disbelief, however small, clogs the pipeline. It introduces time. It creates distance between you and what is already yours. The one who manifests quickly is not lucky. They are aligned. They no longer ask, how? They no longer fear, what if? They have stripped away every layer of resistance until only the assumption remains. The assumption is the seed, and where there is no resistance, that seed bears fruit immediately. But what is resistance? It is the quiet voice of unworthiness, the subtle feeling of lack, the deep-rooted belief that your desire is somehow too big, too impossible, or too far away. Resistance hides itself in logic. It whispers, that person hasn't noticed you yet, or you haven't spoken in years, or they are with someone else. And if you give those thoughts power, they become the state you dwell in. You are then imagining from the wrong end, not from your desire fulfilled, but from your desire denied. To drop resistance is not to fight your thoughts. It is to transcend them. You do not argue with the doubt. You walk past it. You do not negotiate with fear. You rise above it. You do this not through struggle, but through the simple, quiet act of assuming. It is done. Feelings do not lie. You may say you believe, but if your heart is filled with worry, if your mind rehearses failure, then your body is not yet in the state of the wish fulfilled. And so, you must begin there. not by forcing the world to change, but by relaxing into the version of you who already has what you seek. That version of you lives within the moment you drop all resistance. It is not somewhere far off. It is here now, waiting for your arrival. When you truly assume that the person you like is drawn to you, you stop looking for signs. You stop wondering what they think. You feel the relationship as present, not pending. You carry the vibration of love, not longing. And love, being the highest creative force, responds instantly to recognition. It does not wait for permission. It does not delay for confirmation. It moves where it is welcomed, and it flows through those who believe. Let the old story fall away. The one where love is hard, or people don't choose you, or timing isn't right. These are echoes from a past you no longer live in. They belong to an identity you've outgrown. You are not manifesting love. You are returning to the truth that love was already within you. The person you like does not need to be convinced. They need to be recognized, not with words, but with vibration. The world is a mirror, and it reflects not what you want, but what you are. The moment you assume you are already loved, already chosen, already cherished, you become magnetic, not because of effort, but because you are now aligned with the version of reality where that is true. The 5 minutes it takes for them to call, to text, to appear, is not about time, it's about alignment. And alignment happens when resistance dies. There is no order of difficulty in manifestation. To the law, attracting a person is no different than drawing a breath. But to the mind that resists, everything appears uphill. Drop the weight. Surrender the need to control the method. Allow yourself to feel the outcome as already real. This is not pretense. This is power. Sit in silence and feel it. See their eyes meeting yours. Hear their voice calling you with affection. Feel their hands wrapped in yours. And do not let the mind distract you with facts. The facts belong to the past. The truth belongs to the assumption. And the assumption is always stronger than the condition, because it is the cause. When I speak of instant manifestation, I do not mean a trick of the clock. I mean the moment the resistance vanishes and the soul stands naked in belief. In that sacred moment, the world reshapes itself. And whether it comes in seconds or days does not matter, because the one who truly believes no longer watches the clock. They already live in the end. The person you like is already on the way. Not because you chased, but because you became. You became the version of yourself who is no longer waiting, no longer doubting, no longer seeking, but knowing. And in that knowing, the universe bends, because all things rush toward the one who acts as if it is already so. The world teaches you that time is a sequence, step by step, moment by moment, cause leading to effect. But in the realm of imagination, time does not behave this way. It bends, it folds, it dissolves. What appears distant in the physical is immediate in the spiritual. The moment you accept this truth, you free yourself from the false burden of delay. Most people believe manifestation takes time. They assume that because they cannot see it yet, it has not occurred. But in truth, nothing manifests through time. It manifests through assumption. You are not waiting for your desire to become real. You are choosing the moment it already is. And the only moment that ever holds power is now. When you enter the state of your wish fulfilled, you are not playing pretend. You are stepping into a version of self that already exists. All possibilities are present now. There is a version of you who is already chosen, already loved, already united with the one you desire. And that version does not live in tomorrow. It lives in your current imagination. Imagination is not bound by clocks or calendars. It is not restricted by history or probability. When you close your eyes and feel the joy of your person embracing you, that moment is not a fantasy. It is an act of creation. In that very moment, the universe begins to shift, not because time has passed, but because belief has occurred. There are those who visualize daily but never receive. Not because they don't try, but because they still believe the fulfillment is far away. They live in the state of longing, not in the state of having. Longing creates time. It stretches the manifestation into the future. Having collapses time. It draws the experience into the present. To understand this, you must go deeper than logic. Logic will tell you it is impossible to be with someone you haven't seen in months. Logic will say, he hasn't called, or She's with someone else. But the law does not bend to logic. It bends to belief. And belief exists beyond time. When you walk into the feeling of already being loved, you bypass all the delays. You skip the waiting room. You enter the reality where it is done. From that moment on, the world must follow. Your person will call. They will think of you. They will feel the invisible pull of your assumption. But it is not because you persuaded them. It is because you chose the timeline where love already existed. You do not manifest by pushing. You manifest by knowing. You do not get closer to your desire by effort, but by acceptance. When you sit quietly and imagine the two of you laughing together, holding hands, exchanging words only lovers speak, you are not imagining the future. You are choosing a reality that already exists now. Time is only a delay when you insist on seeing before believing. But when you believe first, the seeing comes quickly. And if it appears not to, it is only because you have returned to doubt or resumed the posture of waiting. To correct this, you must return to the end. Over and over, as many times as needed, you step into the state of already having. The world of form moves slowly, but the world of imagination moves at the speed of light. What takes years to unfold in the physical can unfold in moments in the invisible. And the invisible is the cause of the visible. So why would you linger in the past? Why would you retell the old stories of rejection, of absence, of heart-touch, when the new story is already written? The person you like is already yours in imagination. The moment you embrace them in feeling, the process begins. Not in time, but in awareness. You become one who knows rather than one who hopes. You become the fulfillment itself. Do not ask when it will happen. Ask yourself whether you have already accepted it. The one who says, "It is done," without needing a single external confirmation, is the one who has mastered the mystery. The one who feels the joy now, the connection now, the presence now, that one has no use for clocks. For them, manifestation is not a future event. It is a current identity. The secret is this: you are not manifesting something that will be. You are selecting something that is. You are not becoming. You are remembering. You are not attracting. You are aligning. The timelines are infinite. You are simply stepping into the one where your desire is reality. If you assume union, you live as union. If you assume love, you radiate love. And the outer world, by law, reflects what you have assumed to be true. The delay is not in the process. It is in the resistance. And resistance always comes from thinking it must happen later. What if later is now? What if the call you want, the message you crave, the embrace you long for is already echoing through the unseen? Would you still wait, or would you receive it? Drop the habit of measuring time. Drop the idea that you are moving towards something. Move from it. Let your words, your actions, your breath carry the weight of completion. Let your life become the evidence of what is already yours in imagination. When you do this, you will see what others call miracles. But for you, it will be natural, because you will know that time is not a barrier. Time is not a gatekeeper. Time is only relevant to those who have not yet claimed the end. You cannot bring love to yourself by needing it. Need is the vibration of absence. To declare that you want love is to simultaneously affirm that you do not have it. The secret is simple, though often overlooked. Manifestation does not begin in the craving for love, but in the embodiment of it. If you desire a specific person, you must first become the one who is already loved. Not in theory, not in words, but in feeling. All creation begins within. The outer world reflects your inner assumption, not your outer pursuit. So if you approach the person you desire from the standpoint of emptiness, believing they will complete you or make you whole, you are denying the truth of your creative power. You are imagining yourself unloved, and the world can only mirror what you believe yourself to be. The shift is profound and immediate when you move from, "I want them to love me," to, "I am already loved." The moment you feel yourself to be loved, adored, chosen, you no longer reach outward. You radiate inward fulfillment. And that inner state magnetizes the experience you once thought you had to chase. Imagine two people. One says, "Please notice me. Please come back to me. Please choose me." The other says nothing but walks in the assurance that they are desired, that they are the beloved. Which of these two vibrates with power? Which draws others in without words? It is always the one who feels the truth, not the one who wants it to be true. To manifest a specific person, you must understand that love is not something you acquire. It is something you awaken. When you imagine being in their presence and feel joy, peace, laughter, when you see them looking at you with affection, when you feel their arms around you, you are not fabricating an illusion. You are activating the reality that matches your inner conviction. The world will tell you that you must text them, chase them, prove yourself. But in imagination, everything begins and ends within. You do not have to move the pieces of the world. You only have to move your own inner state. Once that shift occurs, the rest follows. The desire for love is not wrong. But the mistake is believing that love exists outside of you, waiting to be earned or found. In truth, your love for yourself, your assumption that you are worthy, that you are cherished, that you are the chosen one, this is the signal that the world receives. And the specific person you desire, whether near or far, consciously or unconsciously, responds to that signal. There is a vast difference between longing and claiming. Longing implies distance, separation, a hope that something may change. But claiming implies identity. It says, "This is who I am love, I am wanted." And identity is always stronger than effort. You become what you accept yourself to be. You attract what you feel yourself to already have. So instead of asking, "How can I get them to love me?" ask, "How would I feel if I were already loved by them?" Then dwell in that feeling. Nourish it. Let it saturate your being until it becomes second nature. Your mind will resist at first. It will remind you of the past, of what was said, of what was not. But none of that matters. All that matters is what you now assume to be true. When you shift from wanting to having, everything changes. Your energy changes. Your words change. Your silence becomes powerful. You no longer look for signs. They appear effortlessly. The specific person feels the pull, not because of what you say, but because of what you've become. There is no need to force contact, to manipulate, to convince. The world is not moved by striving. It is moved by vibration. And your vibration is shaped entirely by the emotions you entertain. If you feel neglected, you remain neglected. If you feel adored, the world has no choice but to reflect adoration. Your imagination is the great initiator. The moment you dare to assume, "I am in a loving relationship with this person," and you persist in that feeling, not just visiting it briefly, but dwelling in it, the physical must conform. There is no resistance in imagination unless you invite it. So do not revisit the old wounds. Do not rehearse the past. Every time you affirm to yourself, "He loves me, she adores me, I am their favorite thought," and you feel that statement as true, you collapse the illusion of separation. You align with the reality where your love is already reciprocated. The most powerful love stories are not written through effort, but through belief. The one who feels loved becomes irresistible. The one who walks in love without fear or doubt becomes the center of someone else's world. This is why it is never about convincing another person to choose you. It is about convincing yourself that you are already chosen. When you reach that point, when your state of being becomes saturated with the feeling of being deeply loved, the world will move mountains to reflect that assumption. Your specific person will come, not because you waited, but because you no longer needed to. You are no longer asking love to arrive. You are living as if it already had. There is a sacred geometry to manifestation, a triad that governs the unfolding of all experience. Emotion, belief, and assumption form the axis upon which creation spins. The emotion is what moves you, the belief is what carries you, and the assumption is where you arrive. To understand this is to hold the key to effortless manifestation, especially when it comes to love. Most believe that thought alone creates. They speak affirmations with their mouths, but feel contradiction in their hearts. And so, despite all their effort, the world does not change. But thought without emotion is lifeless. It carries no magnetic charge. It cannot impregnate reality. It is the emotion behind the thought that gives it creative power. When you think, "He loves me," but your chest is filled with worry or doubt, the emotional engine is moving in reverse. You are not moving toward union. You are rehearsing separation. Emotion is the living substance of your inner world. It fuels the images you hold in imagination. You must begin to feel deeply, not just say words. You must weep in joy before the joy arrives. You must feel the comfort of his arms, the thrill of her voice, the tenderness of their gaze. Not tomorrow, but now. If you cannot evoke the emotion, the image is static, and a static image cannot manifest. It must be alive with feeling. But emotion, as powerful as it is, must be guided. Without a direction, even the strongest emotion becomes chaos. That direction is belief. Belief is the invisible track upon which your emotion rides. You may feel deeply, but if your belief is shaped by fear or limitation, your emotional energy will only take you deeper into that fear. This is why it is not enough to want. Many want love but believe they are unworthy. Many feel strong desire but believe in rejection. And so, even their strongest emotional efforts bring sorrow. You must therefore purify your belief. You must begin to accept as true only those things that reflect your highest desire. If you believe that love is possible but difficult, that relationships are always fleeting, that the person you desire is beyond your reach, then your emotion, no matter how sincere, will follow that crooked path. It will never reach the destination. But when belief is straight, when it affirms that you are worthy of love, that what you want wants you, that the universe is responsive, then even the slightest emotion carries you far. It moves with grace and momentum. You do not have to force things into place. You simply feel yourself moving in the right direction. You can sense the alignment. And this is where assumption comes. Assumption is the end. It is the point where the journey ceases. It is the moment when the inner world becomes so vivid, so real, so emotionally charged and faithfully believed that it no longer feels like a wish. It feels like a memory. You no longer say, I want to be with them. You say, we are together. And when that statement carries emotional truth and unquestioned belief, you have arrived at the point of assumption. Assumption is not wishful thinking. It is not hoping. It is knowing. It is walking through life as if your love has already been confirmed. You smile differently. You move differently. You speak not from lack but from fulfillment. And this fulfillment, when genuine, causes the outer world to shift. Many think assumption requires repetition, but it requires conviction. When you truly assume something, you do not repeat it. You live from it. It becomes your atmosphere. It becomes your frequency. Every thought, every emotion, every action arises naturally from that inner knowing. You no longer ask when or how, because your heart is already resting in the outcome. You may think you are waiting for love, but what you are really waiting for is to feel it. And you do not need anyone else to begin feeling. The emotion is yours to generate. The belief is yours to adjust. The assumption is yours to inhabit. And once you do, the world becomes obedient. Try it, sit alone. Close your eyes. Imagine your person walking toward you smiling. Feel the rush in your chest. Let the warmth spread through your hands. Believe just for a moment that this is not fantasy. It is reality. Let go of the thought, when will this happen? And replace it with, this is happening now. That is how you train the mind to become loyal to the unseen. That is how you replace the external timeline with the internal truth. If your emotions are aligned with desire, if your belief no longer contradicts your longing, and if your assumption is held with consistency and ease, then the outer manifestation is not a question of if, but of now. And often it will come suddenly, without effort, without drama, because the work was already done in the unseen. Emotion, belief, assumption. These are not steps, they are frequencies. You move through them not with force, but with intention. You begin with feeling, cleanse your belief, and settle into knowing. And the moment you rest in that knowing, the desire you once chased is already present. To ask for love is to confess you do not yet have it. To plead is to proclaim lack. And whatever you declare, whether through speech, emotion, or posture, is what the world must echo back to you. Love, like all things, is not received through asking, but through the quiet certainty of possession. That which you claim as yours in consciousness must manifest itself in form, for the law cannot fail. It mirrors what you assume to be true, not what you hope might be. The one who begs to be loved has already assumed they are unloved. And that assumption, wrapped in emotion, clothed in belief, becomes their experience. It cannot be otherwise. But the one who claims love does not wait for proof. nor does he seek validation. He walks through the world as if love has already embraced him. His confidence is not arrogance, but alignment. He knows that to feel loved inwardly is to create it outwardly. There is a great misunderstanding in the way most people approach the desire for a specific person. They think love is a favor to be granted by another, not realizing it is a condition of the self. They wait for a message, a signal, a touch, before allowing themselves to feel worthy, desirable, or chosen. But the law is clear: what you are within, you become without. To wait for the outside to change before you change your inner state is to reverse the order of creation. You are not here to receive love. You are here to give it life. To claim love, you must first understand that it is already yours. It does not come from another. It flows through you, from the awareness of your union with all that is. You do not chase it, you declare it. You do not ask for it, you embody it. The moment you say within yourself, I am loved, I am chosen, I am his, I am hers, and feel the truth of those words, you have claimed the only power that ever brings love near. Asking keeps the mind in motion. It says, I hope, and hope, though gentle, is often laced with fear. But claiming is still, it is final. It says, this is already mine. When you reach that point of finality, the person you desire no longer feels distant. In your consciousness, they are already with you. You are no longer reaching, you are receiving. And that subtle shift alters everything. Many have tried to win love through action, texting, calling, showing up, proving their worth. But even when those actions are successful, the love often feels fragile, because the inner claim was never made. You may receive the form, but without the assumption, the form will crumble. It is only when love is first claimed in spirit that it endures in flesh. Ask yourself now, how would I feel if the one I love already loved me deeply? How would I carry myself? How would I move? How would I look at the world? That is the self you must become. Not tomorrow, not when they say the words, but now. That self is the magnet. That self is the evidence. That self is the claim fulfilled. To truly claim love, you must become deaf to the senses. You must walk through your apartment as if your lover has just left the room. You must fall asleep as if their head rests beside yours. You must speak, not of what's missing, but of what is present in spirit. The bed you lie in is no longer empty. The silence is no longer void. It is filled with the presence of love already attained. Every day, the world will try to convince you that love is earned, that it is rare, that it is conditional. But the truth is, love is as abundant as air, and it surrounds the one who breathes it in confidently. You do not qualify for love, you claim it. You do not wait for someone to choose you. You choose the reality where you are already chosen. Even if the person you desire has turned away, spoken harshly, or seemed indifferent, you do not give life to those appearances. You go within and rewrite the story, not by force, but by faith. You replace the memory of rejection with the imagination of reunion. You overwrite the past with the certainty of the present, and you let your new assumptions speak louder than any word they've said. What you claim in imagination must express itself in life. There is no other way. So if you are not yet loved in form, it is only because you have not yet dared to claim it in truth. Stop asking, start knowing. Step into the role of the beloved and let the world rise to meet that role. You do not need signs. You need alignment. You do not need approval. You need acceptance of what you already are. Every breath you take, every step you walk, can be filled with the quiet assurance that love is not a reward. It is a reflection. And when your heart becomes the mirror of that truth, the one you love will see their reflection in you. And come, the beginning of transformation does not lie in striving or pursuit, but in the stillness of knowing it is already done. The mistake many make is believing they are on a path toward what they desire, never realizing that this very belief places the desire always just beyond their reach. To imagine you are moving towards something is to declare it absent. But to live from the end is to accept its presence. The end must be assumed first, before there is evidence, before there is movement, before there is even a whisper of change in the outer world. Living from the end is not performance, it is embodiment. It is not merely thinking of the wish fulfilled, it is thinking from it. It is allowing the version of you who already has your desire to take over your thoughts, your tone, your posture, your world. This is not pretending. This is alignment. When you think from the end, you speak as the one who already has the relationship. You move as the one who is already loved. You fall asleep, not with questions, but with gratitude. Those who live toward the end are always rehearsing. They say affirmations hoping they will become true. They visualize with the expectation that something might shift one day, but they do not dare to claim the identity of the one who already has. And so they remain in the limbo of becoming. But becoming is never being, and it is only from being that manifestation flows. Ask yourself, what does the version of me who is already in union with my person feel like? What does that self worry about? What does that self celebrate? How does that self interpret delays? You must become that self now, not when the phone rings, not when they return, not when circumstances align. The end must be occupied in consciousness before it can appear in time. You are not building a bridge brick by brick. You are stepping into a scene that already exists. The version of your life where you are loved, wanted, chosen. It is already present in the eternal now. Imagination is the doorway through which you enter it. And once you are there, you no longer ask, when? Because the question dies in the answer. To live from the end is to be so rooted in the outcome that doubt becomes irrelevant. The outer world will often tempt you to measure progress, to check for results, to seek signs. But all such behavior reveals a return to the old state. The one who lives from the end is not concerned with evidence. Evidence is the shadow of assumption. It comes after, never before. When you believe before seeing, you reverse the law. You do not wait for the world to validate your assumption. You allow your assumption to create the world. If you desire love, then live now as one who is already loved. Let your conversations reflect the peace of connection. Let your body carry the joy of belonging. Let your evenings be filled with the satisfaction of togetherness. And do not check the mirror of the outer world for confirmation, because mirrors only reflect. You must place the image first. And that image is formed in the mind, sustained by feeling, and protected by persistence. There is no need to ask for what you already possess. There is no need to explain your desire to the universe. The law does not require negotiation. It requires assumption. When you assume the end, the law begins its work, and it does so without your help. All that is required of you is to remain faithful to the state. Do not fall back into hoping. Hoping is the language of lack. Living from the end is the language of completion. It may seem unnatural at first. The world may tell you it is foolish to feel what has not yet occurred. But manifestation is not about agreement with the senses. It is about command over them. Your senses will report the old reality, the reality formed from your former beliefs. But your task is to remain in the end long enough for the outer world to rearrange itself around your new identity. This is how relationships return. This is how love blossoms without effort. This is how the unseen becomes seen. Not through striving, but through assumption. Not through doubt, but through dwelling. And the dwelling must be consistent. You cannot dip in and out of the end and expect a solid result. You must live there. Make it your home. Speak from it. Act from it. Sleep in it. Every time you choose to imagine the end and feel its reality, you shift timelines. You draw yourself closer, not because the end is far, but because your attention was misplaced. The end was always here, waiting for you to recognize it. And once you do, you are no longer a seeker. You are a receiver. You are no longer desiring. You are being. Let this be your discipline. Let this be your devotion. To walk not toward what you want, but from it. To live not in the shadow of longing, but in the light of fulfillment. That is how the invisible becomes tangible. That is how love, once dreamed, becomes real. You may believe that your desires are hidden within you, invisible to the world around you, but this is not so. What you feel deeply and consistently within yourself becomes a living current that moves beyond the confines of your body and ripples through the unseen fabric of reality. There is no such thing as a private assumption. Your inner world is not isolated, it is radiating. And the person you like, whether they are across the room or across the globe, is already receiving the signal you are sending with every feeling you sustain. This world is not built upon matter. It is built upon vibration. And vibration is determined not by what you say, but by what you are. If you walk around feeling unnoticed, unchosen, unworthy, then that becomes your vibration. And every person, especially the one you long for, unconsciously reacts to it. They don't need to hear your voice to know how you feel. They feel it. They feel your resistance. They feel your need. They feel your waiting. And as long as that is what you project, that is what they mirror. But the moment you shift your inner state, when you begin to feel yourself loved, treasured, and significant, something remarkable happens. You don't need to say a word, yet they begin to think of you. They begin to remember moments they once forgot. They feel drawn to you without understanding why. And it is not because you convinced them. It is because you changed your vibration. You must understand this clearly. Every assumption you hold about this person becomes a command issued to the universe. If you assume they are not thinking about you, they won't. If you assume they are distant, unavailable, uninterested, then they must become that. Not because they are choosing it, but because you have chosen it in your imagination. But if you dare to assume they adore you, crave you, desire you, and think about you even when they resist, it must become true. For your inner world is not an echo of the past, it is the cause of the future. This person you like does not have to consciously understand the pull they feel toward you. Most do not, but they begin to sense something in the atmosphere, something soft and magnetic. Your name begins to enter their thoughts randomly. A memory surfaces without prompt. A curiosity awakens. They may say to themselves, "I wonder what she's doing," or "I haven't heard from him in a while." These are not coincidences. These are responses. You may think nothing has changed because the outer still looks the same, but the outer is always delayed. The inner is immediate. The law responds the moment the assumption is made. It is only your need to see results that delays them. When you drop that need and remain in the feeling that your person is already thinking of you, already feeling what you feel, already on their way to you, then the movement begins. Thoughts are not isolated. Feelings are not contained. The mind is not a closed room. It is a broadcasting tower. Every emotion you dwell in is transmitted, and it does not matter whether you are near them or far. There is no distance in consciousness. The one you desire is already connected to you through the invisible thread of imagination. Begin to assume that they are responding to you now. When you think of them, imagine they are thinking of you. When you speak to them inwardly, know they hear it, maybe not as a voice, but as a tug in the heart, a shift in emotion, a new awareness. You are never doing this alone. You are always being heard. Many doubt this truth because they are looking for evidence before they believe. But that is not how the law works. You must believe first. You must dwell in the knowing. You must walk through your day, feeling that your desire is already known by them. You must carry yourself as someone who is already on their mind. That is how you build the bridge of assumption. Do not worry about the method. You do not need to control how it unfolds. All you need to do is persist in the feeling that they are already responding. When you wake up, affirm silently, "They are thinking of me." When you fall asleep, whisper inwardly, "They miss me." Let these truths become the air you breathe. Then watch as the circumstances begin to reshape themselves. Not because you changed them, but because you changed yourself. This person is not separate from you. They are part of your consciousness. What you imagine of them, they become. What you assume about them, they reflect. So choose wisely, feel boldly, and know deeply that they are already moving toward you, not because you reached out, but because your inner world called, and they answered. 5 minutes in imagination can do more than 5 years of effort. Yet most misunderstand the nature of time and assume the manifestation of desire must stretch across days, weeks, or months. But the truth is, the outer world is shaped not by the passing of time, but by the intensity and certainty of one's assumption. When I say 5 minutes, I do not speak of clock time. I speak of the quality of conviction one holds within those minutes. It is never the length of time that creates change. It is the depth of belief and the purity of assumption experienced in that sacred interval. In 5 minutes, you can saturate your consciousness with the feeling of the wish fulfilled so vividly, so completely, that the world bends itself to your assumption. And yet others may sit for hours, repeating words, visualizing pictures, affirming intentions, but without belief, without emotional acceptance, their labor is fruitless. The difference is not how long you practice, it is how deeply you accept. Momentum is the hidden key. The speed at which a desire manifests is determined by the momentum of belief, the unshakable clarity that what you assume inwardly is already true. In 5 minutes of aligned consciousness, you can lift yourself out of despair and into fulfillment. You can move from longing to gratitude, from loneliness to love, from separation to union, but only if you dwell in the state as though it were the only truth. You must not confuse activity with alignment. Many speak their desires with their lips, while their hearts remain filled with doubt. They repeat affirmations but continue to look for evidence to validate them. This is not momentum. This is hesitation wearing the mask of practice. True momentum is when the soul stops asking and begins knowing, when the inner voice says, "It is done," and the feeling of doneness floods the body with peace. 5 minutes in that state, without distraction, without contradiction, without slipping back into the old story, is enough to shift your entire reality. The reason most do not experience rapid results is because they do not hold the state long enough. They enter it for seconds, then return to questioning. They dwell in faith briefly, then fall back into fear. And so the momentum is lost. It is not time that is needed. It is consistency within time. The person you desire, the change you seek, the outcome you long for, they do not require years of preparation. They require a moment of union in consciousness. When you and your desire become one in feeling, when you can look at your life through the eyes of the one who already has it, when you stop checking the outer world and begin trusting the inner one, then you have built momentum. And the more you dwell in that state, the more natural it becomes. What most call waiting is merely the absence of conviction. They say, "I have imagined for days, but nothing has happened." But what they mean is, "I have dipped in and out of assumption while continuing to doubt." This is not 5 minutes of faith. It is many minutes of conflict. But 5 pure minutes where you lose all sense of time, where you breathe as if the desire is yours, where you feel the result so completely that you no longer need to ask. This is sacred. This is power. You must remember that imagination does not deal in time. It deals in states. The outer world, governed by appearances, may seem to unfold slowly, but that slowness is only the echo of an inner hesitation. The moment your inner world moves with conviction, the outer must respond, and it does not wait for days. It moves as fast as your belief allows. 5 minutes of union in the imagination creates a frequency that your world cannot ignore. The one you love will feel the shift. They will think of you, dream of you, feel pulled towards you. But you must hold that inner state long enough for it to become your new home. You must stop visiting your desire like a guest and start living in it like a resident. Ask yourself, can you give 5 uninterrupted minutes to the end result? Can you shut out the noise of doubt, the logic of delay, the questions of how or when? Can you sit in silence and feel your desire real, so real that the world outside becomes a shadow? That is all it takes. Not 5 days of trying, not 5 weeks of hoping, just 5 minutes of absolute conviction. And when you exit that state, you must carry the residue of that assumption with you. Walk as the one who has it. Speak as the one who knows. Do not fall back into old identity. Do not dilute the momentum by entertaining opposites. Your world listens not to your words, but to your being. And your being is the sum of what you persistently assume. 5 minutes can shift a timeline. 5 minutes can bring them back. 5 minutes, if lived correctly, are enough to bring your entire life into alignment with your desire, because the force of creation responds not to duration, but to decision, not to time, but to trust. And when the trust is total, the time is irrelevant. It is already done. What you desire is not separate from you. It is not far, it is not hidden, and it is not waiting in some future to arrive. It exists now, in the unseen, in the eternal now, and it responds instantly to your assumption. The moment you believe it to be yours, without hesitation or condition, the world begins to bend. Not because you fought for it, not because you proved yourself worthy, but because you claimed it boldly, faithfully, silently. This is not about time. This is about alignment. In the space of 5 minutes, the whole of your reality can turn. If those 5 minutes are filled with unwavering conviction, it is not the effort that brings results, it is the clarity. It is not repetition that creates change, but saturation of feeling. The one who lives from the end does not plead or push or chase. They walk with the knowing that what they imagine is more real than what they see. To manifest love, true, deep, magnetic love, you must become the embodiment of it. You must feel it within before the world reflects it back. The person you like is not moved by words. They are moved by vibration. They do not hear your request. They feel your assumption. And when that assumption is clear, consistent, and claimed, they respond. Always, the law does not favor the persistent seeker. It favors the one who assumes the end and does not leave it. Your job is not to figure out the method. Your job is to occupy the state. And when you do, all things are drawn to you. Not slowly, not painfully, but by the grace of your inner world. Feel it now. Walk from it now. Assume it now, and then rest, for the truth has already been spoken within you. And that inner word, once felt, is never empty. It is life, it is law, and it is done.